guys, so you're welcome back to this channel. So today we're going to be looking at how we can actually enable Amazon CloudFront, right? For an Amazon S3 website, we created using the management console. Now, previously, right, we actually created an S3 bucket in a previous video. So if you've not seen that, you can actually use description to actually see that, right? So today we're going to use Amazon CloudFront. So what is Amazon CloudFront? Now, Amazon CloudFront is a fast content delivery network service, okay, which is like a CDN service that securely delivers websites, videos, applications, and data to users globally with low latency and high speed. So it works by caching or storing copies of your content in or near data centers called edge locations, right? And those edge locations are usually closest to your customers. So when a user requests content, it's served from the closest location, speeding up delivery. So let us use Netflix as a case study, right? The Netflix application might be in any US region, right? The application might be hosted in maybe US East 1 or any other region there, right? But those in Africa can still stream movies in real time, right? And Amazon CloudFront actually makes that possible. So let us enable a CloudFront distribution, okay? So the first thing you want to do is that you log into your AWS console and search for CloudFront. So I'll come here and I'll search for CloudFront. Let me search for CloudFront. So this is the CloudFront service and I'll navigate to that service. Let me just drag this here. So the next thing I want to do, right, is to create a distribution. Okay. So in the distribution page, you're going to click on create distribution. So I'll come here and this is the distribution page. I'll come to click on create distribution here. Now, the next thing we want to do, right, is that we're going to choose a plan, right, and we're going to select free. So I'll come here, and if you come down here, you can see we have different plans. We have the free plan, which costs $0, right? We have the pro plan, which is the most popular, and it costs $15 per month. We have the business plan that costs $200 per month, and we have the premium that costs $1,000 per month. So everything depends on what our business requirements is, right? You can see the one for $0, right? And you can see when you're going to benefit here. You can see you have 1 million requests per 100 gigabyte per month, right? You have the DOS protection. We have protect against web threats using WAF. You have IP-based rating limits. You have geographic traffic blocking. You just look at everything, right? Now you see the one for $15. You see the extra benefits you actually get, right? I see the one for $200. I see the one for $1,000. So everything you're going to actually choose would depend on your use case, the business requirements, right? So if you have higher workloads and you know you need to actually choose higher a higher plan, right? Or if you have lower workloads and you choose a lower plan, right? Or you can come here and use pay as you go, right? So everything depends on your business use case. But for us, I'm just going to use free because we're actually trying to learn. And I'll come here and click on next. The next thing I want to do, right, is to give our distribution a name, right? And for example, let's just say I'm actually trying to create a distribution for YouTube, okay? So I'll come here, I'll just copy this YouTube distribution, you Control C, and I'll come here and I'll paste it here. Okay, so the name of our distribution is YouTube distribution. Now, the next thing I want to do, right, is to describe what the distribution is for, right? So the reason why we describe our infrastructure is to allow colleagues, right, people that work with us to be able to understand what we are building, what we built it for, right? For auditing purpose, so that they know that okay, this is the reason why we built it, and that is a function of what it's actually doing. Because if you don't describe your infrastructure, it becomes hard, right, for auditing, right? So that we want to track the cost of whatever we are spending for. Okay, so that's why you describe things to help your colleagues, to help people you're working with to identify the reason why a particular infrastructure is existing. So I'll just be lazy. I'll come here and I'll copy this. right? I'll just copy this, Control C. I'll come here and I'll paste it. So it's describing it, right? It say distributes website content to global users faster. So that's the reason why we are creating this distribution. Then for distribution type, we'll leave it like so here. Then the next thing we want to do, right, is that we're going to locate domain. Now, if you bought your domain name from an AWS service called Draft 53, then you can paste that domain name in the CloudFront service, right? And it will allow users to access your website securely. Now, if you come here, this is what we're talking about here, right? You can see that if you actually bought your domain, now your domain can be textila.info, your domain can be whatever you have, right? Maybe amazon.com or whatever, right? So that is your domain name. So if you bought a domain name from a service like Route 53, right, then it means that you can actually come here and actually use that domain name, right? And automatically, right, AWS will actually give you this TLS certificate, right? So it will allow customers to be able to access your platform distribution, right, using your own domain name in a secure way, right? But if you don't, you have to actually skip this. And I didn't actually get my own domain name using Route 53, right? I got using Namecheap, so I'm going to scroll and skip that. But if you have one, you can just put your domain name here and you're good to go. So I'll come here and I'll click on next. Now the next thing I want to do, right, is to look for our origin type, right? So the origin type, like you see here, is where our website is living, right? So it depends on where you have your website. If you have your website in the load balancer, you choose load balancer. If you have it from an endpoint like API gateway, you choose it. If you have it as any other AWS service or known AWS origin, maybe you have it from somewhere outside AWS, right? Hosted on AWS, you choose other. Then if you have maybe an elemental media package, you choose it. But for us, I have my website hosted in Amazon S3. So if you want to look at how you can actually create a static website, there's a link here. You can actually watch the video and see how you can do that for yourself. So I'll click Amazon S3 because that is where I have my website hosted. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is that let me come down here and under the origin, we're going to click on browse S3 and we're going to select the name of your S3 bucket, right? And for me, I'll use the name of my bucket and I'll click on S3 endpoints. Leave other default and click on next. I'll come here, right? And this is the origin I choose. This is Amazon S3. I'll scroll down here. And when you come to the origin, right? So you want to select where your bucket is, okay? So I'll click on browse here and you can see I have two buckets here. So the where I have my static website, where I have my website hosted is static website hosting, right? So I'll click on this and I'll click on choose, and you can see we are going to use this bucket, right? So this pop-up will come out, use website endpoint, right? So what it means is that if you plan to use distribution as a website, right, recommend using the S3 website endpoint rather than the bucket endpoint. So you can click on use endpoint, right? So the next thing we want to do, right, is to scroll down and we are going to actually go to the web application firewall WAF, right? Click on use monitor mode checkbox. I'll come here, right? I'll leave this as the default. I'll come down here. Okay, we'll leave all these default. We'll click on next, right? Then when we come to enable security page here, you can see web application firewall WAF, right? So if you want a DDoS protection for your application, right, which is the layer 7 that actually protects application, right, load balancer, then you click on you on this. But you, before you do this, you need to actually change your plan. Remember, the plan that we are currently on for distribution is a free plan, right? So if you want to enable this advanced plan, right, for your applications, right, then you actually used to need use a business plan for that, right? But for us, we are going to leave it like so here, right? So you can also use monitor mode. Now if you come out to the documentation here, right, and you come down here, you can see that we are going to use monitor mode, right, because it allows us to do a safe testing for our application, right? And what it does is that it allows us to see what will happen if WAF rules were active, but it wouldn't actually block any traffic in terms of legitimate traffic or malicious traffic, but to tell us, okay, this is what will happen if we actually enable rules. So if we come here and we click on use monitor mode, it will show us, okay, when we have requests, it's telling us what WAF will do, right? If it was actually enabled, to just show us like something like safe testing of, okay, if you had WAF enabled, this is what to prevent for our website, right? And to show us every benefit that WAF can do, but WAF won't take any action, right? WAF won't take any action. So I'll leave it as use monitor mode. I'll come to next, right? Then I'll review everything I have here, right? All the if what I've actually done for my configuration, and I'll come down here and I'll click on create distribution. And you can see my distribution has actually been created, right? So I can come to distributions here, and you can see I have my distribution I just created, and you can see it is enabled. Now there's something I want us to actually see here, right? And it is in this documentation, right? Now if you click on distributions, which I've done, right, and the distribution page which you're seeing here, you can see this distribution page here, right? Now you observe that when we come to the domain name standard tab, right, which is here, right, you can see that we have something like CloudFront's own URL, right? And using this CloudFront's own URL, right, you can see that it should look like something like this we just seen, right? Now, for a real world scenario or a production scenario, we don't want to use this URL. Okay, we don't want to use something like this. We want to use a customized URL that is for our own business domain name, right? Now, on this, that Amazon CloudFront distribution, right? Now, in the next video, I'm going to show you how you can actually enable that, right? So instead of using this, right, you use your own company domain name, right? So subscribe to this channel, turn notifications on, and when that is out, you're going to get it. So we are going to see in the next one. Bye for now.